But now moving on, more about those plans to increase the number of children which nursery staff and childminders in England can look after at one time. The government hopes costs for parents will be cut and standards improved. Well, we're joined by Caroline Wright, Head of Early Years at Kidsunlimited, one of the UK's biggest nursery operators, which is supportive of the government's plans, and also Dame Claire Tickell, who is the independent chair of the Early Years Foundation Stage Review and Chief Executive of Action for Children. Ladies, thanks very much indeed for joining us. It's good to see you. If I could start with you, Caroline, why are you supportive of these plans? Why do you think they're the right way to go?
I think it's really great that we've got a renewed focus around early years. We know that it's the most crucial time in our children's development. That's why we call it the foundation stage. It sets the stage for all of their later learning. So I think anything that raises the profile of what we do in early years and what an important job we do is really good. And of course we know that the quality of the adults working with our youngest children is absolutely crucial, and we need to get that right. So we're very pleased that there is a renewed focus around all of this and the work that we're doing in early years.
Okay, but is the emphasis in the right place? The emphasis seems to be cutting costs. That is why the government feels that it's a good idea for fewer nursery teachers to be looking after more children. Is that actually going to be good for the children, do you think?
Well, I'm not sure that all of that's going to come to fruition within the next, in the next few weeks, is it? I mean, certainly we know that before we can do anything about reducing ratios, we do need to make sure that we meet the qualification requirements around the new qualification that the government are proposing, the early years educator qualification. And certainly for us at Kidsunlimited, we won't be looking at any of those things in the immediate future. We're going to be concentrating on maintaining quality and continuing to upskill our staff. We invest heavily in quality improvement, and qualifications is very much part of that for us.
All right, Dame Claire Tickell, a renewed emphasis on this whole area by the government, not just to reduce costs, but nurseries are going to have to meet higher standards of staff training. There's going to be a new childcare qualification in English and maths. I mean, that improving the service, that's a very good thing, isn't it?
I think it's a fantastic thing, and I think that the government and the Minister are to be commended for following on from the recommendations made by me in my Early Years Foundation Stage Review, picked up by very, very well actually by Professor Kathy Nutt-Brown, and actually now in the suggestions and the recommendations made today by the Minister. Anything which actually upskills the workforce and recognises the huge importance in early years is absolutely to be welcomed. So we think that's a very good thing, actually, and wouldn't have any problem with that whatsoever. The concern that I would have, partly as the Chief Executive of Action for Children, working with, we run about 200 children's centres, we run a number of nurseries in those children's centres, and we also provide support and places for childminders to go and have lots of links with childminders, but also as the person who carried out the Early Years Foundation Stage Review, is to make sure that we remember the real importance of one-to-one support for children, particularly very small children and particularly very vulnerable children. And that absolutely needs to be protected. And I have to say that I recognise that there are a number of conditions and there's a consultation process around this. I cannot see in any of our children's centres, given the communities where we work and the vulnerability of some of the children, that we would want to take up any offer to relax ratios, although we absolutely welcome increasing the qualification for staff working in early years. We think that's the right thing.
OK, Caroline Wright, I saw you nodding in agreement with much of that. But also, the government's announcement today, doesn't it ignore certain really important facets of nursery education? For instance, lack of availability. I mean, if you're in France, they're all over the place, nurseries. It's pretty difficult to find them over here, frankly. So finding a decent nursery is a problem. Also, the fact that, some nurseries don't even have outdoor space for kids. I mean, they're not actually equipped properly, potentially, for more kids to be looked after by fewer nursery staff. Do you feel the government should have delved into those issues a little bit more?
Look, I really can't speak for other nurseries, and certainly I know that that we do have issues with sufficiency, and that's why we have sufficiency teams working very hard in local authorities. But certainly, all I can speak for really is Kidsunlimited, and for us, it's about maintaining the quality and doing the right thing for our children and our families. And we're not going to be making any changes that would be bad for our families and children. And I just want to reassure our families around that, really, that we have no plans to change our ratios because, you know, it's about children and they're the most important thing here.
It's important to stress that point, actually, Caroline, that it is up to the nurseries involved to decide whether or not they want to change the ratios. This isn't a blanket diktat from on high. But going back to you, Dame Claire Tickell, is this really going to bring down costs? Part of the problem with nursery education and the funding here is that the subsidies that come from the government are retrospective. They're paid to the parents once they actually find a place and pay the money up front. In other countries, that subsidy goes direct to the nursery. Because of the system we've got here, are costs really going to come down with these new proposals?
I don't know. And what I would prefer to happen, actually, would be the work goes into... the first piece of work is to upskill and to improve the qualification level of our workforce. And then to kind of take a deep breath and think about what that looks like and actually the impact that that might have. Some of the more detailed stuff that is in the Minister's paper today, actually it's quite difficult to work that out. I don't know the answer to that question, and I suspect until the end of the consultation period, actually, nobody will know because we won't know exactly what the Minister has in mind. But for me, the most important thing is to think about how it is that we close the gap around some of our most disadvantaged children, provide them with the opportunity that they need. As Caroline says, it's really, the early years are the most fantastic opportunity to do something about ensuring that children have access to the best quality and the best possible care in order that they thrive later on in life. And that isn't just very good nurseries, that's the whole panoply of different provision, and we need to have something that works for nurseries, for children's centres and for childminders in equal measure, so that children are given the best possible start in life and get the quality of time and the one-to-one support that they absolutely need at a critical point in their lives.
Dame Claire Tickell and Caroline Wright, it's good to talk to you both. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
An Indonesian court has sentenced